What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to some off-season chat with BoomBust Fantasy Football. Kyle, how's it going tonight?
Going good, man. Just ready to talk about a little bit of free agency here.
Dude, it's been a wild off-season.
It's been pretty much the craziest free agency I can remember. Period. Like I don't remember there being this kind of activity ever. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's one of the most exciting free agencies, I feel like.
Yeah,
In trade
absolutely.
periods, I mean, there's just
And it's funny because I understand why. It's because we're up against the cap and stuff. But I really wish Dallas was more involved in these things. We're up against the cap, trying to save money and stuff. So I get it, but I really wish Dallas had really gotten in there. The only thing we've really done is we re-signed Gallup, and we've lost some people.
yeah, I haven't done much, and it's not like we have a good draft pick or anything. So I don't know, but that's just kind of. We always take a back seat in free agency because we don't want to overpay people, but then we get people on our roster, and then we go overpay them and put ourselves in a bad cap spot anyway. So
yeah,
the Cowboys
we won't overpay other free agents, but we'll overpay our own free agents.
Right. Yeah, it's wild. Cool. So we got Derryberry up in here. What's up, man? 7 o'clock. Let's go. And Albert, as always, what's up? Good evening. So, Kyle, how about we talk about some of these off-season moves?
Yeah, man.
What do you want to talk about?
I've just been putting a list together here, and there's a lot more relevant ones than I realized here.
There's a ton of relevant ones, yeah.
So we'll hit on as many of them as we can.
All right.
The first one I got on my list is the re-signing. It's a re-signing. It's not a movement, but I feel like it's still significant. James Conner and Zach Ertz with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the best spot they both could have ended up, was to basically stay put. And especially with Edmonds, who's a little further down my list, so we won't get in details there yet. But with him leaving, James Conner, top 12 running back next year now, I'd say, as long as he stays healthy, which he's had some issues doing in the past. But this last year, he only missed 2 games.
Yeah, but he wasn't carrying a full workload. I mean, he had a lot of relief, so it helped him stay healthy, I feel like.
Yeah.
But as far as that goes, yeah, as soon as Edmonds left town, I mean, it makes him the true number one. Ertz is still an obvious number one tight end there. It's not like he's competing with anyone else, right?
Yeah, and, I think that was the absolute best case scenario for Ertz.
Neither one is learning a new offense now. They're in their same system.
And
Ertz has built some rapport with Kyler, so I think that's looking really good there.
Let's see, Ertz signed a 3-year deal, and he's 30-something, 31. So, if not the last contract of his career, probably the second to last contract of his career. So, yeah. I think what's left of his probably productive years will be spent now with Kyler Murray in Arizona. So, I think that's the best case scenario, especially if you own him in Dynasty. You were hoping he sat tight.
Yep, no doubt. I've heard the only downside I've heard is people talking about the only thing that hurt James Conner is Kyler Murray's running ability, and I think that's silly because we saw what James Conner produced with Kyler Murray and Chase Edmonds there, and he was still just scoring left and right. I mean,
his biggest games were with Edmonds out, but he was still very productive even when Edmonds was healthy. So
yeah, I don't think Kyler is going to hurt him very much.
You might still see, Benjamin kind of, get some carries and relieve some pressure. But
I hope so. I actually hope that's the case.
James Conner's going to be a very, very good fantasy running back next year.
Agree. Over on Instagram, JV Show brought a good one up that we can jump to really quick. Not enough people have talked about. He says Cedric Wilson.
Yeah. That's true. And actually, I didn't even put him on my list, but
That's a big
good
loss for the
point.
Cowboys, in my
A big
opinion.
loss for the Cowboys, but it's a good. I feel like it's a good signing for Miami.
Yeah.
You know, nice person to have out there with Jalen Waddle, and I know they tag. They tagged Mckissick, correct?
I believe so.
And then, of course, Fuller won't be back. So basically, Cedric Wilson took Fuller's place
Right.
on the roster. I think he'll be a good number 3 for them. I think Devontae Parker, right, is still there, so he'll be their number 2 when he's healthy.
Yep.
Cedric Wilson would be a good guy to step into that number 2 if he gets hurt again. So I think that's a good signing from Miami, and I think they got him relatively cheap too, if I remember right. So
yeah, it didn't take that.
I have a hard time remembering what kind of contracts everybody signs still.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about their contract. I'm just worried where they're at and what their fantasy stuff is. I can care less about their.
Cedric Wilson signed a 3-year deal. It doesn't say how much here, but fairly cheap guy that was pretty productive for Dallas last year. And I was really hoping to re-sign him, especially once we traded Cooper.
Yep.
But since we're talking about that, another guy I got on my list is James Washington, who we kind of signed in to be our number 3 guy.
Yep.
And I actually really like that signing. He played at Oklahoma State, so me and you got to see him play then.
Really good.
Blitnikoff winner. He's a very solid receiver. Was just buried in a very talented receiver room in Pittsburgh. And I feel like he could step in that number 3 role in Dallas and do a pretty good job.
Yeah, and JV also says, that clears room for Gallup. What's Gallup's fantasy outlook now?
Gallup at number 2 receiver there. Actually, and I actually think he'll be the 3rd option because I think it's, CD, Schultz, then probably Gallup. But, Gallup's definitely talented enough. I mean, he's coming back from that injury. It'll be a little bit tough. But once he's fully healthy, I think he will be a great number 2, which he was when we drafted him.
Yep.
He was our number 2 behind Cooper.
Yep.
And he did fine there. CeeDee Lamb being an even better receiver than Cooper, I think will help open up Gallup even more. And plus, he's developed a lot more now, too. He's not a rookie. So I'm really happy that we re-signed him. I think he's going to be – now next year, depending on the injury, I don't know where he'll end up being ranked. But I would say, somewhere in the top 25, probably in that 20 to 25 range, I would guess.
Yeah, I'd say
maybe a little lower.
25 to 30, maybe.
Yeah, you're probably right. 25. When I think about it more, like there's a lot of good receivers.
Yep, there's a lot of good receivers. But
you're probably right. It's probably more 25 to 30.
But in that offense, the number 2 wide receiver there is still pretty valuable, and Gallup is good, really good. So probably undervalued. And in Dynasty, he's still really young, so liking him as a Dynasty option too.
Yeah, I'd be trying to target him, I think, if I was in Dynasty. In fact, I have tried to target him in our Dynasty, and I can't get a reply. So,
no doubt. That's tough.
But, yeah, I like him as a Dynasty buy. But cool. I wouldn't go crazy trying to buy him either.
Well, no, he's still the number 2. Well, that's probably number 3 receiving option, number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah, you have to be careful in Dynasty because as soon as anything happens, everybody is so they overcorrect values one way or the other so much that it's like, okay, he's still not up here where you're trying to sell him at. So don't fall into that. But I would try to get him if you can get him reasonably. And I guess the other part attached to that is Amari Cooper now moved over to Cleveland.
Yep.
Which at first didn't look great, admittedly. But with Desean Watson getting traded over there now for just the most ridiculous trade and
stupid
contract ever, maybe looking a lot better. There's no way you pay that kind of draft capital and that kind of contract to let him hand the ball off like they did to Baker. Like, they're going to have to revamp that offense. And if they do, I like Amari Cooper a lot.
I mean, I think with that offensive line, they needed a quarterback that could run away. And I think they got that Desean
They can
Watson.
block for the run great. They can't block for passers.
That's what I said. They need to be able to scramble and
same.
run away. So I feel like that's what they needed was a quarterback who could get away from defenders because that line does not pass block. So
No.
Rough.
But
So
if they give that offense a revamp and try to let him do some different stuff, let him throw it around more and what have you, then I think, I think Amari Cooper, I think he could fall in that top 25. I think he would be pretty solid. I mean, he's a good receiver. He's a really good receiver. So
they'll revamp that offense. Desean Watson might be successful there, and casual fans will be like, see how much better he is than Baker?
I know.
Freaking casuals.
Yeah, I know.
Plant Man, how's it going, man? Welcome in. Let's hit up Alberts over here. Where do you rank Adams now?
I don't think he's a surefire like top 3 anymore, but I think you still have to have him in that 6 to 8 range somewhere. He's still going to be a wide receiver 1, easy. I mean, the dude's a stud, and Carr is not inept. So I think he's still a top 10 guy, easy.
Yeah. Are you talking just wide receivers, right? Not like overall.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I would say
now if I'm looking at like a draft, I'm probably looking mid to late second, because that's about where those 5 to 10 ranked receivers tend to go.
Yeah, I'm putting him at probably in that. Oh man, it's so hard. There's so many good wide receivers, right? But I think the only thing that helps Devonte is the familiarity with Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Carr is going to give him the bromance treatment and feed him the rock. Feed him the rock.
I agree. He'll funnel that pretty good.
I feel good about that. Devonte Adams is the type of receiver that can create space. He creates space. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like even a lesser quarterback like Carr, he'll make Carr look better than Carr is. And so I feel like he still won't have that same chemistry that he had with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's not a Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers, but I don't see much of a fall off at all. I don't see that much. The problem is when you're ranking him, right? You're ranking him up against Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Deebo Samuel. So now you're talking about with all of those in your top 10, holy crap, where does he fall in there?
I would take him still over AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel. I think all the other guys you listed, I would put ahead of him, but
would you take him? See, and this silly, I think I would take him over Diggs. That's just me.
I think him, Diggs, and Lamb are kind of in a until we see if Dak can actually funnel targets to CD and not spread it around to his detriment. I really think those 3 are kind of in a lump together.
Yeah.
Diggs, Lamb, and Adams.
You can't really go wrong.
No.
So
you really can't. I mean, they're all going to be studs. So
yep.
Does it move Aaron Jones up in our rankings?
Sorry, guys. Also, I have a little bit of a cold, so
yeah,
I'll try not to.
Corey's been on the struggle bus.
Or cough into the microphone, so
he's been on the struggle bus for a couple of days here.
Man, does it move Aaron Jones up in your rankings? What do you think, Kyle?
I don't know. I think it has to, unless they just all of a sudden like go sign Jarvis Landry or draft a high-end receiver or 2. If they draft 2 receivers in the first 2 rounds or something, like I think it has to. Him and Dylan both.
I think it affects Dylan more.
It'll affect their workloads. I think both their workloads will increase. So I think you have to move them up a little bit. I wouldn't get crazy with it. But yeah, I think it has to move them up a little bit.
A touch. Would you rather have Aaron Jones or James Conner?
Give me Connor on full workload.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. AJ Dillon's being worked into that mix a lot, and that makes me a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of guys I'm taking above Aaron Jones. This doesn't bump him up enough for me. It just doesn't.
Yeah, and of course we're talking redraft unless we
Right.
specifically say dynasties. So, I would rather have Connor than Jones right now.
Right.
Looking over here at Fantasy Pros, it looks like they prefer Jones to Connor by a couple of spots, but everybody's different. But for me personally, I'd rather have Connor.
Yeah, where do they have him? Yeah, I mean they have him at Jones at 16, Connor at 22. Yeah, I think I'd rather have Connor there. I think there's more upside.
But so since I brought it up, we got these listings here. So they've got Elijah Mitchell at 15, Jones at 16, Zeke 17, and then Barkley, then Connor, then Jacobs. Okay.
Wait, are you on PPR or standard?
Oh, I am on standard. Whoops.
Okay. Moving to PPR.
My bad. Reset. Well, he's still at 16, but they've got, man, I don't think a lot of their people have updated their rankings.
I don't feel like so, because there's no way James Conner, his lowest rank is 31, and I feel like that can't be right.
You got Conner at 22 under Dobbins, Mitchell, Jacobs, Fournette, Elliott.
Yeah, I don't think these men
over Zeke for sure. I think they got Zeke way too high. I'd rather have Connor than Mitchell, than Dobbins. Fournette and Jacobs. Since Fournette re-signed with Tampa Bay today, probably still rather have him now with Tom Brady and what have you. But I don't know. These guys like Fournette and Jacobs, Connor, that are getting full workloads they have behind Jones, and I don't see that. For me, yeah. I don't want that.
I feel like it's hard to find full workload guys. So when you have them, you want them.
Yeah.
No doubt. All right.
And who's next on your list? I think they're trying to factor in some of his injury history, but, that's hard to do. I'd rather take that chance.
No doubt.
And then, we touched on it with the Dallas trade, but Desean Watson, of course, going to Cleveland.
We'll see if he even plays.
Yeah, I mean, this first year will be tricky depending on if there's any suspensions with the allegations and what have you. But if he plays and he plays a full year, he's easily a top 10 guy, obviously, that talent alone. And, he does have some pieces around him. So I think that makes him an easy top 10 next year. But I'm not drafting him until I see, for sure if it affects, if the civil cases affect if he gets suspended or anything like that this year. So
yeah, you can't trust the NFL. There's no rhyme or reason. So
right. So hopefully there's some closure to that before the season kicks off.
They should too. I mean, come on, figure it out, people.
Well, the legal system just takes so long to get moving anywhere in this country. It's kind of crazy.
Well, but now that the thing has played its thing, now it's all civil. Whatever, he'll pay him to shut him the hell up, and then it's just the NFL. Like, what is the NFL going to? NFL shouldn't have to wait for that. If he's not criminally liable, the NFL can make their decision right. And it doesn't matter what he pays them to shut them up and just get them away, which I think if he's innocent should be nothing, but that's just me. I don't know why people pay people when they don't do anything wrong other than just convenience.
Just to not have to go through it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just convenience.
I think I'm not saying that's the case in this situation, but
no,
that's the reason a lot of people do that is because they know they'll get paid regardless.
Because he just doesn't want to be held up in a legal battle that might cost him a ton in legal fees and blah blah. It's just like, here's
That's what we're
100
doing
grand,
wrong,
go
boy.
away.
That's the best get rich quick scheme ever. Let's just sue a rich person and they'll pay us to go away.
Exactly. So I'll be curious to see what happens there. Roger Goodell is not consistent with anything. He just does whatever he wants.
He's so random. It's just
He's stupid.
I don't like you, so you get 6 games. You're all right, so you get 4.
Yep, it's rough, man. So
it is. It's weird.
No rhyme or reason. So I don't want him until I know that's good to go.
Yeah. The next, well, I actually wrote this down, but Russell Wilson, we're not going to talk about him. We talked about him last week.
Yeah, we talked about him a lot last week.
I was just going down the list. I was like,
yep.
Oops. So let's talk about Allen Robinson to the Rams.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Because you got him in a dynasty league. That
I do have him in a dynasty league.
Praying he would end up somewhere good, and he did.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I could have really asked for a better spot. He wasn't going to be a true number 1 anywhere, right? No. Because everywhere already pretty much has a true number 1. So
except for Green Bay and Atlanta.
So if Green Bay would have probably been pretty good, but Atlanta, not excited about that. So
not with Matt Ryan leaving.
Bullet dodged. So Green Bay probably is the only other place I would have liked him to be at, right? But if he was going to be a number 2 anywhere, the Rams is exactly where he needs to be, the number 2.
Oh, yeah, because then a couple days later they ship Robert Woods off to Tennessee, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. But, I mean, it's Kupp, Robinson, and then they want to sign Beckham, but he'll be a clear number 3 now. Like, he kind of came in and took over number 2 from Van Jefferson last year. He's a clear 3 now behind Robinson and Kupp.
Agree.
So let's see if he throws a temper tantrum about this one or just rides the coattails to another Super Bowl.
I think he'll ride those coattails. Shut the hell up and ride the coattails.
It's easy to shut up and sit back when you're winning, huh?
And then if they lose, he can just be like, they should have thrown me the ball more. That's my best impression of him I got.
Yeah, I like that spot for Allen Robinson a lot.
Yeah.
I think I like him a little bit more than Michael Gallup, where he ended up staying.
Yeah. This is funny. Did you see the report that Odell is interested in going back to Cleveland? No, but I find that hard to believe.
I'd tell him to go away.
I mean, I guess if he wants to go play with Desean Watson for some reason, but man, why leave what is potentially a repeat Super Bowl team? I mean,
yeah.
And honestly, I mean, Matt Stafford, I think he just did his contract and he left some money on the table, which was smart. He said he wanted some pieces around him, so he just came to something that I still think he probably could have left more money on the table, but what do I know? $35 million a year instead of $40 million a year probably would have helped him a little bit more, but whatever. What do I know?
Sushi lovers over here doing drugs in the chat again.
Here's what I'm going to say to that.
He's not better than CD, but he is better than the other 2.
He's better than Amari. He's better than Cedric Wilson. Duh. Debo is not the same kind of player as CD either. Like CD is probably a better pure wide receiver, but Debo just kind of does a little bit of everything. He's just a beast. So, and I think I want.
I'd rather have CD personally, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried that Debo is going to break down with that kind of usage. I don't know how long his body can take that crap. That's rough.
I guess I'm still in my dynasty mindset. So CD over Debo in dynasty for sure. Next year I might take Debo over CD until I see how the targets fan out without Amari Cooper in-house. But it's pretty close. I mean, flip a coin, honestly, between the 2.
Yeah,
I'd probably still take CD just because he has a better chance of staying healthy, not running the ball.
And there's absolutely no bias playing into any of this.
So, Gorman's in the house. Haven't seen you around before 10 o'clock in a while.
I know, right?
You're early. You put the kids to bed early.
Yeah, buddy. Man. He's like,
Good to
night,
see
night.
you. Yeah, it's good to see you. We only see you if we're on after 10 o'clock anymore.
Daddy said, night, night.
Everybody to bed.
Oh, that's funny.
Let's see. Who we want to talk about?
Yeah, who's next on your list there?
Oh, I guess we can just segue into Robert Woods in Tennessee then, off of the Allen Robinson deal.
Yeah.
I don't like that landing spot for him. You know, it's still going to be the Derrick Henry show. They got A.J. Brown. I just don't see a ton of targets and a ton of opportunity for production out there. Hopefully
I don't hate it.
Than Julio did, but
clear number 2. Third option in the offense. I don't hate it. Wait, who did they just sign as their tight end too? They just signed Hooper?
Hooper, yeah.
Yeah.
Who I also have written down here.
Yeah, so that offense is changing a little bit.
Tannehill's still a quarterback, and they're still going to run Derrick Henry. I don't know, man. I don't see that changing much.
Yeah, I don't love it. So, but I don't know where else he could have gone where he would have been a clear number 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most places have a 1 and 2. He might have ended up as a 3 in most spots. So,
except for Atlanta and Green Bay.
Yeah,
Atlanta a lot of these they need receivers, and like you got everybody else sucking them all up, and they're just sitting back going, "All right, we're good."
Well, because Green Bay can't afford anybody because they gave all of their money to Aaron Rodgers. They have no more left. Let's see, Jay Gore, as a Tennessee fan, I'm glad he's here, but I agree. Yeah, down in numbers next year. Yeah, he's not gonna have the same production as he did.
He'll be a much better real life player for them than he will a fantasy player for us.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good fit for him in real life, but for fantasy purposes, I don't love it. Mr. Sarcastic got his Adams jersey today. I love that. I guess I didn't realize you were a Raiders fan, buddy.
Hold on one sec. We'll go to that.
No, I get through Sushi Lovers 49ers love. That's all they post in the chat anymore. Niners are better than everybody, and then disappear for 6 weeks when they lose in the playoffs. We love you, Sushi, but talk about something else.
He's on it, man. Lock
the
it.
The Niners and lock it.
I think everyone agrees. I don't think anyone disagrees that Debo is great. I just traded for him this week in Dynasty. Couldn't be happier. I am super excited and cannot wait.
Yeah, I like Debo. I just prefer CD.
Even though he beat my Cowboys, I enjoy watching Debo Samuel play. I really do. Bought my Adams jersey today. Yep, I didn't realize that either.
But yeah, I didn't know you were a Raiders fan, but that's cool.
As a Raiders fan, I bet you are ecstatic. I know a lot of people that feel that way.
You know what? These days, I'm starting to feel like, sadly, I was raised in a Cowboys home. So I feel you. I feel that in my bones. I love my Cowboys, but, you know.
How do you feel about that move from Oakland to Las Vegas, Mr. Sarcastic? Does that
I still always want to say Oakland still.
I know. It's
them and the Chargers. I always want to say San Diego.
Also, speaking of Las Vegas, if any of you guys are going to Las Vegas or in Las Vegas for the NFL draft, hit us up. Let us know. There will be a big crew from the Fantasy Football Network there. So let us know. We'd like to meet you in person. That would be awesome. What, Kyle?
I said not me because it's a busy time at work, but, you know, you'll be there.
It seems like Gerald from last week's show with Orange and Brew, looks like he might be there.
Really?
Via Twitter, I think I found that out. So cool.
That'd be cool.
Jaguar said there's no way Aaron Rodgers was on board with Adams going to Las Vegas. That was wild. Yeah, I
didn't think so either, but I saw a report that he actually knew about it ahead of time. So that is shocking to me also.
I mean, there's just no way they could have paid. Kyle, me and you have talked about this multiple times. There's no way they could have afforded to pay Aaron Rodgers what they paid him and give Devonte Adams what he wanted. There's just absolutely no way. you're going to spend nearly half of your cap space on 2 players.
Yeah, it would
because these guys are being stupid with their money.
It would have been outrageous.
I mean, you talk about only thinking for yourself. Oh, I wonder why we can't win a Super Bowl and get a lot of players around us. Well, Aaron, I think you just got your answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
that's exactly right. Jonathan can't make it from Kentucky,
but Mr. Sarcastic in Arizona, been to the stadium 5 times. Maybe he'll be around for the draft. Mr. Sarcastic. What is this? Aaron is literally signing up to be on the couch for the next few Super Bowl. Yeah, he did. It'll be a fancy ass couch though.
Yeah, it will.
It'll be a new couch every year. So,
and apparently he's still sitting on it with Shailene Woodley, so everything's right.
Hey,
So let's, before we go back to Albert's question there, let's touch on the other guy, or finish talking about the other guy on that team that you mentioned, Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
What do you think about him on there? I don't think he's going to throw to his tight end enough to really make it worth drafting him at all. Maybe as a backup, deep backup.
I'm not excited about it.
Yeah.
He's going to be probably just as productive there as he was with Cleveland. It's not exciting at all.
Yeah, I mean, they used to throw to Jonnu Smith when he was there. He'd have like one good game out of 5 or something. Like he'd have like 3 or 4 good games a year, and that was pretty much it. So,
and I honestly think Jonnu's probably better than Austin Hooper. Yeah, call me crazy.
He's a better player for sure. So that would be, I think it was worth mentioning, but I really don't think it's going to amount to anything fantasy.
Well, because usually when you get someone changing like that, and Hooper's a good player, don't get me wrong.
He was a good receiver in Atlanta. He just hasn't had a good spot. He hasn't landed in another good spot like that yet.
Yeah, it's easy to get hyped up about something like that. I mean, he was scooped up pretty quick in our dynasty, so yeah, and Jay Gore says the same thing. Definitely should have kept Jonnu. Jonnu is going to waste right now, and it is sad. Jonnu Smith is good. He's really good. In my opinion, I like him.
Yeah, I like Jonnu.
So, but yeah, Austin Hooper probably not worthwhile. I'm not snagging him. I'm not worried about him.
So we can hit on Alberts real quick, and then we'll circle back to somebody else I want to talk a bit about that kind of spins off of what we were talking about there.
Okay. What do you think about Juju to the Chiefs, Kyle?
Juju to the Chiefs, I think that's a nice fit. And like we were talking about this the other day, like the Chiefs haven't had like a solid, real number 2 receiver behind Hill since Mahomes has been there. And I really think this is going to solidify that lineup for them, as long as he's healthy. I feel like you almost always have to add that caveat anymore because
with every player.
People get hurt so often anymore, and then so many of these guys are coming back off of injuries. But, yeah, I think that's a nice fit. I think it was a good signing. Nice landing spot for Juju, for sure. I like it. I mean,
as I see it, Juju lands back in a spot where it's almost like he was with Antonio Brown when he was up in Pittsburgh. Tyreek Hill is the Antonio Brown, and Juju is back to his old number 2 ways, which is where he produced better. Juju produced really well in that role, better than being the number 1. And like you said, Kansas City's been starving for a true number 2 wide receiver, and I think they found a good one. I like this signing a lot. And honestly, I think Juju has more value here as the number 2 wide receiver on the Chiefs than a number 1 wide receiver with Pittsburgh. He just didn't fit that role well.
Yeah. You mean than him as the number 1 back when he was there? I thought you meant like then the number 1 now. I was like,
no.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. Now, I agree with you. He's not a number 1 receiver.
He thrived when Antonio Brown was there, and he was the number 2. And Brown's that quick guy, and Tyreek's that quick guy. Now he's got a way better quarterback. I mean, I just like this for Juju.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a really good like receiver, 3-4 flex type, in that area there.
Oh yeah, I think he's a great flex.
Yeah, if you got him as your third receiver, you're feeling pretty good.
Absolutely.
All right, so circling back to, we were talking about Austin Hooper in Atlanta. I'm the king of segues here, so you'll forgive me. Talking about Matt Ryan now going to Indy.
Okay.
All right, we love Matt. I love Matt Ryan in Indy. He's got some nice weapons, nice running game, good defense. Plus, I love it for Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah.
Assuming they don't do anything else at tight end, I think he has a real good shot to be fairly productive. He's not going to jump into the top 10, but I think he's a solid, second tight end for your roster now, whereas last year they were using that committee thing. Doyle retired, I believe, and now you've got Mo Alley and Granson. No, Granson's on Carolina, isn't he?
I don't know.
I'm so confused. Hold on. I can't remember I can't remember the depth chart now. But anyways, there's only one other tight end behind Mo Alley Cox, and I brain farted who it is. But anyways, I really I think Matt Ryan will throw to him enough that he'll be a good tight end too. But, Matt Ryan, I'm not jumping him way up into my top 10 or nothing like that. But I think it's a good spot that he can be productive as a backup QB for your team. And maybe have some big weeks against good matchups for daily fantasy and stuff as well there now.
Yeah, I agree. That'll be a cheap daily fantasy ordeal there. I'm trying to find out your tight end. On Sleeper, they still have Jack Doyle listed as the number 1 tight end, and Mo Alley Cox, then Kylan Granson, then Farrad Green. But yeah, then it has Jack Doyle. You click on him, it says ends playing career, so he's retired.
Yeah, so Doyle retired. So it was Granson. As soon as I said Granson, for some reason Carolina flashed in my head. I was like, wait, is he with Carolina?
And
okay, so he is with Indy. So yeah, I think, and Kyle Granson had some promise, but Mo Alley Cox is a better athlete. And so I think
yeah, and they signed him to a 3-year deal. I mean, they obviously like Alley Cox. So I don't hate it. I think you're right though. I mean, obviously
nice little late round flyer. You could throw him in a flex sometimes or, on a bye week, but yeah.
Yeah, I've seen worse.
Oh, definitely. I think Austin Hooper, I'd rather have him than Austin Hooper.
I would too. Or Jonnu.
Or Jonnu Smith. Or Hunter Henry for that matter. Either of those guys.
Yep. Absolutely.
Let's see.
Yeah, what else you got on your list?
Who's next? All right, let's talk about the Jacksonville spending spree.
Oh, boy.
Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. All of a sudden, they've got some pretty solid guys. I mean, better than what they had last year for that offense. For Trevor Lawrence to throw to. And I forgot his first name. I was like, so they finally got some more solid weapons. Last year they had Marvin Jones, and then behind him they kind of cycled through 4 or 5, 6 different guys as injuries happened and what have you. But Dan Arnold, he's pushed aside now for Evan Ingram. But I think with Kirk, Evan Ingram, I saw a quote where Ingram was excited to go play for Peterson now because he saw what he did in Philly with Ertz and Goddard and stuff. So I kind of like that fit for him.
Yeah.
Him and Kirk, I think, could be productive if they work to Trevor Lawrence's strengths. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that goes next year.
I just can't believe the amount of money they're spending on these guys, though. My gosh.
So much. Yeah.
I mean, they're spending money. They look like Urban Meyer in a strip club out there just spending that money. It's just ridiculous. I like Christian Kirk, but Christian Kirk is just way overpaid now. I mean,
dude, that contract was too expensive. They paid him too much.
I feel like that's just going to hurt him down the road, but I still don't trust that offense yet.
I'm not drafting any of them next year.
They're good. They're good dynasty. They're good dynasty pieces. Christian Kirk, but eek. That's an offense I'm staying away from.
Yeah, they're okay dynasty pieces to hold on to. Sell them if you can, but you probably won't. So hang on to them. Be patient. You know, maybe may not see it this year, but maybe next year you'll start seeing some chemistry develop and things.
I mean, or we could be totally wrong and they just hit it out of the park right off the
Yeah,
bat.
that's very possible. But
I just don't see it
I
happening.
don't think I'll be drafting any of them in redraft this year, just because you don't know what to expect and you don't trust it. You know.
Appreciate that. I was proud of that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even that backfield, I know that there's no developments there, but just that Jacksonville offense makes me nervous. Inconsistency with Etienne and James Robinson. A lot of hype around Etienne, but Robinson is still a great running back. So don't know what that backfield looks like. Makes me nervous. Just staying away from that offense at this moment. Too much uncertainty, and I don't like to gamble enough in fantasy football like that. I want some good production, steady production, someone I can rely on week in, week out.
Yeah, that running game's going to be real interesting to see how that shakes out. You know, James Robinson ain't going away because he's too good. I know everybody's on the ETN hype train, but he's not just going to step in and be a true solid number one workhorse type. Like, there's still going to be some sort of split there. And I could see it very well working out the same way Green Bay is set up right now.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
Could get interesting.
It'll be real interesting. So let's jump over to Tampa Bay and Leonard Fournette just re-signed.
Some value. If you have him, good for you.
If you hung on to him, yeah, good job. If you have him in Dynasty, obviously, I mean, he'll still be ranked pretty high going into this next year in redraft. It's going to be, I mean, Brady's back, Godwin re-signed, Evans is still there. They lost Antonio Brown, but they signed Russell Gage, who is no Antonio Brown, but respectable. And then I expect Gronk to be back before.
I think Gronk will be back
before training camp. So, not a lot changed on that offense. So, I like Leonard Fournette again next year.
I do too. I'm just happy to see Leonard Fournette not be wasted. He was so wasted at the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
And I know he had some injuries and stuff like that, but there was no motivation there for him to work back from those injuries or play hard. I mean, he was just kind of crapped on all the time. It was just, I don't know. It sucked to see such a talent get wasted. And now to see his career kind of revived and him getting to show what he can do is actually pretty cool. So I'm excited for him. I think he's in a great spot there, and he is performing well. If I can get him on my team, I'm happy about it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, I mentioned Russell Gage. I don't think he's going to be like a super productive fantasy player or nothing like that. He, like you say, he's no Antonio Brown, but he's good enough to take some pressure off of Evans and Godwin. And that's the important thing. And he'll probably stay healthier than Antonio Brown did anyways. So
yeah, that affects Brown and Godwin more than it does Russell Gage. I mean, you just want someone dangerous enough to where they actually have to respect them.
Yeah.
So that's all you're really looking for. So I think that's a good get.
I think it was a good, smart signing. I don't think it was smart of Atlanta to let him go.
No, I think that was idiotic.
On their roster right now. I think that was a mistake for sure.
But I believe where I read that they had that Tom Brady was actually recruiting Russell Gage, like he targeted him as a recruit. So not that necessarily means much, but Tom Brady probably went, that's a good wide receiver that we can get at a decent price and would work well in our offense. So, but I'm not like super excited for Russell Gage. I mean, he's kind of back at that spot where when Julio and Calvin Ridley were the 1 and 2 and he was the number 3, he's kind of back in that role where he's just back in that number 3, but probably number 4 because of Gronk, number 5 maybe because of Leonard Fournette catching passes. So he's not near the top of the receiving list there, but
yeah,
not rushing out to get him by any means.
All right. So then, J.D. McKissick. We thought he signed with Buffalo. Ended up re-signing with Washington, which means probably not much will change with Gibson. The coaches said they wanted to get him more involved in the passing game, and they did towards the end of last year. So maybe you see that kind of continue over. But it winds up with Duke Johnson signing in Buffalo. I guess they were wanting more of a passing down specialist. And there's still talk they could add somebody, in the draft or whatever. That's a tough blow to Devin Singletary.
That's a big blow to Devin Singletary. And what sucks is now the blow is from Duke Johnson instead of J.D. McKissick. So it's a little tougher to swallow.
Yeah.
I liked J.D. McKissick going to the Bills. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. But now that it's Duke Johnson instead, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, he's not quite
Gross.
the passing down specialist that McKissick is, but they can still use him kind of in that capacity, which is very much a bummer, especially if you're a dynasty owner. Like, to go from so much promise at the end of last year with Singletary to now, it doesn't seem like they have faith in him to be a receiver. So it's tough. Like you said, that's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
Yeah, that Buffalo backfield just, as soon as you think it's starting to figure itself out,
it's like New England
it just crumbles again.
2.0. It's New England backfield all over again. The problem is you're running into that everywhere now, and we'll get into another one here in a minute. But Albert's question over here: are you trying to get your Instagram to work or something?
Yeah, my low battery thing popped up and it messed up my audio, and then I just got it fixed, so I'm good.
No.
We're good there.
We'll pop up Albert's question there real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they draft him, he's going to be starter day one, and he'll probably be a stud in that offense. So, I don't think they would spend that kind of. I don't think they value the running back spot like that.
I think that's obvious.
To draft him where they need to draft him at.
It's funny because everyone says, like, man, if they would just get a true number one running back, that offense would be unstoppable. And it's like the Bills look at it and go,
yeah, we're good.
I think we're fine. We're doing great without it. So, yeah, I just don't think they would do it because I think they would have to take him in round one, and I don't think they'll take him in round one.
I don't think they will either. I don't know what they will take, but it wouldn't be that. So let's change gears over to Miami. Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert signed by Miami. What a nightmare freaking backfield right now that is.
Yeah, that's a no-go backfield for me. That's a no thanks.
Like, I'm not touching any of them unless it's like of the last round of the draft.
Not a single one of them because, even last year when they had, like, it's not like, what's his face? Who was their starter?
Gaskin.
It's not like he was doing horrible, and then all of a sudden Duke Johnson comes in and they're just like, here you go, you can have the backfield.
Yeah.
Except, like, it's just not consistent. I don't know what's going on there.
It is different coaching staff now.
That I was just about to say, but I don't know what the new coach is. But it's still, when you have that many to choose from, no thanks.
But I feel like they brought in Chase Edmonds, who's the same kind of player Gaskin is. He's slightly better at it, but he's the same type of player. It's looking like Mostert's going to be probably the 1A and to Edmonds 1B. He's going to be the corner, and Edmonds is going to be Edmonds, except for Miami instead of Arizona. And I think Gaskin's going to be a clear backup now. If they even keep him on the team, to be honest. But
yeah, I don't know why they would.
That's definitely a no-go for me next year until we see kind of what they decide to do with that. And Mostert, he's 29 already. Like, I really don't expect
And he can't
be around long anyways.
Dang. Albert took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say that. He ain't going to stay healthy anyways. That was the joke last year, and look what happened. Everyone joked about it last year, and then it ended up happening.
He'll get hurt, but then I don't think Edmonds can carry a full workload. He's not that type of running back. He had a good game last year when Connor got hurt, but it was one game. It wasn't multiple games. He's just not that kind of running back, I don't think. Just like Gaskin wasn't that kind of running back, clearly. So, I don't know. It's kind of it's not a great play. I could see them maybe drafting somebody would be interesting, but they got other needs.
Yeah, especially after they just signed them. I don't see them drafting a running back after acquiring them. They don't draft until pick 29. Miami doesn't. So
well, it'd be a good spot to draft a running back, I guess, but
not horrible. They pick after Buffalo. Buffalo has the 25 pick right after Dallas. So maybe Buffalo can say trade that pick. Let's be like, you want Breece Hall, bro?
It'd be interesting. I'm excited for the draft. See what happens.
Oh, I'm pumped for this draft.
I've only got a couple more names here.
Cool. Let's run through them real quick. We got a few minutes left.
DJ Chark signing with Detroit. I don't think Goff is the kind of QB that can throw to a receiver like Chark. That's kind of a deep ball guy, but I think they'll still have to respect him enough. It'll take some pressure off of Hawkinson and St. Brown. So I don't love it for fantasy purposes for like drafting Chark, but I like it for the other receivers, them signing Chark.
I agree with that analysis. No, I don't think Jared Goff is the type of guy who can make those deep passes, but I think he's dumb enough to think he can and should try.
He'll try some.
So he'll try some. And luckily, I mean, Chark is talented, so he'll probably come down with a few. But
yeah,
I do think it opens up a little bit more because they will have to respect Chark, and they didn't have a respectable number 2 wide receiver. Do you consider Chark the number 2 in that behind Amon-Ra?
Yeah, I think you got to consider Amon-Ra the number 1 right now.
Yeah. So 1A, 1B almost.
I mean, I'm not drafting Chark unless it's super late, and there's just no he's a receiver like 4 or 5. Like, yeah, he's deep on my bench. If I'm drafting him.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky to Pittsburgh. I don't love it, but they could have done worse for Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson, Claypool. I think it'll hurt Claypool the most. I don't think
did they trade for
Deontay
Trubisky?
Freiermuth will take a ding, but I think he'll be able to get them the ball still. What?
Did they actually make a trade for Trubisky?
No, they just signed for him, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. If I were the Steelers, I'd be like, hey, Cleveland. Because I'm not excited about Trubisky for them.
No, I mean, it's clearly he's just a stopgap guy. Try saying that 10 times fast, apparently.
What a waste.
Obviously, I'm pretty sure they're going to draft somebody, and then they'll try to develop him. Whether it's this year or next year, they're not going to have Trubisky for long.
Yeah, so you're pretty much just throwing a year.
It's better than Mason Rudolph. You know, they could have done worse. So it'll be a down year for Deontay and Freiermuth. You'll probably see a lot of Najee Harris this year, but I don't think they'll be unusable. Claypool I'd have a hard time trusting him this year.
Yeah. Here's a interesting question coming through on Instagram here from Not Von Miller. It's Not Von Miller. How do you think Baker will do on the Eagles?
On the Eagles? He's not going to the Eagles.
I guess it's if he were going to the Eagles.
If he went to the Eagles, I don't know. It could be better than Cleveland for him.
Yeah, I'd rather him go Carolina.
But I hate the
Hell,
Eagles.
hell,
And Baker's
I would rather him go
my
out to
boy.
Seattle.
So
I'd rather him go to Seattle because
yeah,
at least
they're
there's
not
some
good. He's not
good
going
wide
to
receivers. There's some good receiving options there.
Yeah, I think he'd be okay with the Eagles, but I think he'd be better on another team like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really hoping he'd end up in Indy. He'll end up with the Seahawks probably. Albert, there's definitely no interest from the Panthers, which is shocking to me.
Yeah, that blows my mind. Which, speaking of them, they just restructured Christian McCaffrey's contract.
Save a little money since he's not playing.
Yeah. Like, hey, if you're gonna sit the bench again this year, can we?
See, we got Nick in here. He's been hanging out.
What's
not talking. Yeah, see Tomlin at Malik's pro day. That's what I'm saying. Like they're gonna draft somebody for sure.
Yeah, that's why I thought
I've seen Malik tied to them a lot. Like,
yeah, I think that'd be a good signing.
Yeah,
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, that'd be a real good pick
but
for them.
Trubisky, that's gross. No thanks. Yeah, Seahawks or Panthers probably for Baker. I'm personally hoping for the Panthers. I think at this point.
That's what I was just saying though. The Panthers aren't interested. They're not interested.
Yeah, I know.
Baker's not interested.
I'm still hoping for it.
Well, Baker's not interested in it either.
Oh, he's not.
So, yeah, I saw a deal today said there's mutual disinterest. So,
weird.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. But it looks like it's Seahawks or bust at this point for Baker. I don't know.
What a weird situation.
Listen, if Cleveland, because they still have to trade him because he's still under contract. If they hate Baker so much, trade him to the Steelers.
Yeah.
And then try to beat his ass every day.
If you think he sucks that bad, then you want him within your division, right? You want him with the Steelers if you think he sucks that bad.
I still think, Baker's not a top 10 quarterback in this league, but I think the hate's gone a little too far considering he's coming up a year with his shoulder hurt and
he's like
throwing a hissy fit.
He's like Nickelback. It's just cool to hate on him.
Yeah, that's all it is. Like Nickelback and the Cowboys. Now it's just cool to hate Baker. And it's whatever.
You want to sit here and bash on Nickelback, but you know the words to all of their songs. Like, oh, okay, cool. You can sing along with each one of their songs, but you're hating on them. Like, okay.
Everybody hates Baker because he's cooler than everybody else.
I mean, I'm sorry. I couldn't imagine where Cleveland would be at still if Baker. He was the first steady quarterback they've had in decades. So,
yeah.
I mean, people just totally underestimate how crappy of a situation he was thrown into and what he did for them. So, just unappreciative. I think that's just common though. People are just unappreciative now.
Just ungrateful. If you don't get a Super Bowl in the first 2 years, then screw you. You suck.
Yeah. You took us to the playoffs. You came in with a trash team, took us to the playoffs, and then tried to play through a just torn up shoulder and only went 6-8 with that, which is better than half the league. But okay, yeah, you suck. What? Yeah. What? People are dumb.
Yeah.
Casual fans.
Well, we hit our hour mark, so we'll wrap this up. But I had a few other names. I'll just mention them. We don't have to go into.
Let's do a quick fire.
I just didn't know how much time we would take on each one. So the last ones I have left: Gerald Everett's to the Chargers. I hate that for Parham. Could be a decent fit. I like it for Everett playing with, so it could be a decent backup. Ricky Seals-Jones to the Giants. I think we know that wasn't productive for Ingram. Don't expect it to be for Ricky Seals-Jones.
I'm not excited about it.
Matt Breda getting signed by the Giants also as a backup. Honestly, he's probably not even a good handcuff. Wouldn't waste your time. And then the last one I had was CJ Uzuma signed to the Jets. Tight end's not been a productive spot for the Jets in the past. I wouldn't worry about trying to
Didn't they sign Conklin or something too? Did they sign 2 tight ends there?
Did they sign Conklin?
I thought so. I swore they signed 2 tight ends like that.
You're right. I missed that. They did.
Yeah, so
sign
Conklin also signed there. So
Conklin and Uzuma, both fairly productive last year, backup types or whatever. Wouldn't touch either one of them this year, or
no,
as long as they're with the Jets. So just
silly.
want to run through those quick fire real quick. They're fantasy, or used to be, are no longer fantasy relevant people. Everett could be a decent backup guy, but the other three, Breda, Sills, Jones, Uzuma, Conklin, 4, I guess, I'm not touching them.
Not relevant.
So,
All right. Well, with that all said, let's sign off of here.
that was a speedy rundown of a wacky free agency.
And there's so much more we didn't even cover, I feel like.
That was the
Those were the main
ones. Everything else is, offensive line, defense, coaches, stuff like that, which there was a lot of movement there too, but that's not why these people are watching.
Hell, I don't know enough about that either. It's just been interesting. All right, man. Yeah. Well, let's just keep tracking, and who knows what we'll talk about next week, but I'm sure there will be something exciting between now and then that we'll talk about.
Might have to try to get Mr. Tony back.
Ooh, I'd love to get Mr. Tony back. The professor.
We talked about Dynasty running backs last time he was on. I know he wants to talk receivers and tight ends. So
yeah, he does. He doesn't call himself the professor. We just call him that. It kind of bothers him in a funny way, so we're just going to keep calling him that. And we'll advertise him as the professor. It's a good time. So
It'll catch on.
Absolutely. All righty, let's sign off of here. It's been fun, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.